Alright, welcome to this tutorial. In this tutorial we're going to talk about how to first import your footage for editing, and then we'll move on to how to set your in and out points so you can select just the part of the raw video clip that you would like to use in your finished video. Then we'll move on to talking about how we can place in transitions, or how one shot goes into the next shot, and that will be the conclusion then of this video. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing is, go ahead obviously and find the location of where you set up your project, which was in a previous video. So in mine, I put mine in the C drive. Yours will be should be in an F drive or an external hard drive, so make sure you have that. Make sure you're on the right computer, same computer as you had last time. Unless you have a hard drive, then you can use whatever computer you want as long as you have that hard drive. Mine's right here in Wilts, and assignment number 3. Alright, so you see I actually have some footage that's in here. I have a countdown, I have some various other clips. Here's a audio file, and another audio file down here. And of course this is the project itself, the Adobe Premiere project, and then these are a couple folders that when you create your project, Adobe makes automatically. Do not delete them. You can see one of them actually is an autosave, meaning that obviously then as you work, as you edit, Premiere Pro will be saving every so often, and so you could find those in here. You can see that it's saved quite a few files in here. So anyways, let's go ahead and open your Premiere Pro project. And if you don't have your footage already in here, obviously go ahead and do that now. So get your footage in here, and any audio, anything else that you're going to be working with. And this is the user interface. Let's first go up to Window, Workspace, and Reset Current Workspace, and click Yes. That way your workspace and my workspace should look similar. Alright, so one of the first things I like to do is to actually untab and move this project tab up here, so that we have a larger space for seeing all of our clips. And to get our clips actually into Premiere, there's several ways to do it. You can go to File, Import, and import your clips that way. You can actually drag your clips. So I could drag this into here like this and let that go and import it that way. Or I can also just double click in this empty space and I can select some clips this way. So let's grab a couple clips and click Open, and that will actually import them in. So about 3 ways to bring those in. And once you gather your footage and files inside of here, this is called the asset window or project window, where everything you have that you want to work with will reside. And that doesn't mean you have to use it, that just means it's there, and you could use it. So you could bring in a lot of different things if you wanted to. It doesn't mean you'd have to use them. Let's go ahead and first start. I'm going to double click on a clip. This just happens to be a countdown. And it will load this into what's called a source monitor. And that allows you to play. So I can play the clip all the way through. And I can scrub the timeline. This is usually how any professional is going to edit. They don't sit there and play the whole clip out. They just quickly go to where they want it to start, maybe play it just a little bit, or go to where they want it to end. And we'll talk about how to set those. And then you obviously just have the part that you want. Alright, so let's go ahead and do this. Let's say that I want the number 6. So I'm going to back this up. And I can use it's kind of hard to grab it precisely, so let's use my arrows. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on either this bracket, or the way most people start to learn is that obviously you can see that you can either click on that bracket or press I on your keyboard to set your end point. IN is how that would be spelled. And then I can go forward and again use my arrow keys, my left and right arrow keys on the keyboard, and click on this right bracket or the O. And now you see this is defined just that area inside of this turquoise, if you will, color. Now for the first time, when you first get your clip and you're just starting in a new project, you will need to do this next step. And that next step is to use this clip to create a timeline. You can see down here where this timeline exists, it says no sequences. So let's use this clip to do that. So what I'm going to have to do is locate, looks like it's in my project window up here. So for the time being, let's move this down here and go back to my source monitor. And now what I'm going to do is inside of here, the reason I had to move that was because it was kind of, I need to see both things. I need to see this and this. So, but I need to get to this one right here, this new item. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this clip. So I click inside, left click inside, don't let go of your mouse. I'm going to drag clear down here and let go right on top of this new item icon. And once I do that, now I have a sequence. And of course it names it countdown because that was the name of the clip. And I can use this to zoom in. And now I can move along my timeline. So this is where we start to build our finished video. And so now I have just the number 6. Now the interesting thing about this is I can edit this down here if I really want to. If I decide, hey, you know what, I want to add the 5 onto that as well. There we go. So I can just drag right on the end of that and add it. So we've not actually deleted anything off of the original footage. We just selected a part that we wanted. And if I move this whole clip down, I can grab and add the 7. I can add the 8. So again, you see we've not permanently, this is non-destructive editing. And so again, you're never stuck with what you've done. So now let's go back up here and let's grab the 3. So I'm going to move this to the 3. Use my arrow keys, press the N. You can see there's a little beep right there as the 3 turns to 2. So I'm going to press the O for my out. So now I've changed my in and out point on the same clip. And now I can drag that down. I can place that after, I could place this before. And so you don't even have to edit in the order. That's why it's called non-linear editing, because we can edit in whatever order we want to. We could start editing the end and work our way back. Usually, of course, you usually start at the beginning. Here's the beginning of your video, and you just add more to it. But it makes it really easy to, in this case, put the 6 before the 3, or put the 3 before the 6. So we can change the order of our clips very, very easily. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move these down. And the next thing we're going to get into is how to add an effect. So let's look at effects. And what we need to do is find a tab that says effects. Right now it looks like mine's kind of hidden somewhere, so I need to locate that somewhere. And if you can't find it, you can always go up here to Window and see if maybe it got closed down. It looks like it did get closed down because there's no check mark by it. So let's go ahead and click on that. There we go. Now it opened up. So you can see you can click the X on this and it'll close it. But to get them back, you just go up here to Window and go find it, and you can click on it again. And what I'm going to look for is this video transitions, and one under dissolve. I'm going to expand that and find cross dissolve, and I want you to drag to the front of your clip. Usually it's nice to have a nice clean fade into the beginning of your shot, so that will fade into the 3. I can change the duration. Again, you might have to zoom in, but I can change the duration if I want this to be longer. Now that fade will take longer to happen, or I can make it short, and so now it will fade in very quickly. So you can control that. Let's go ahead and add another cross dissolve to where the 3 meets the 6. So precisely right where you're seeing, hopefully, where it covers up half of the 3 and half of the 6. I let go, and you'll see it start to fade in. Now you'll start to see an issue, and I like to use this countdown as an important way of showing this what happens when you add a transition such as a cross dissolve. Before the 6 precisely started right here, well, we knew before the 6, since there was a countdown, that before the 6 we have a 7. Well, when I add a cross dissolve, it has to, because now this clip here is technically not starting here, it's technically starting back here, because it has to fade. You're telling Premiere, hey, fade, so it has to add on to the beginning of this clip. And so you'll see the number 7 start to pop up because it exists in this time period. If you were, remember, if I was to add some of this length back, then the 7 would be before it. And then the same after on the 3, you start to see the 2 makes an appearance because it's after the 3. And so you got to be real careful when you're editing. Now, of course, you won't be editing numbers necessarily, obviously, in probably a video, but the reason I use a countdown to illustrate this is it will add time to your clip. So that's why it's very important to, when you're recording a scene, let's say, and you're done with that scene, you want to record a second or two after that, which we call pre-roll and post-roll, so that if you add transitions, if your actor starts to laugh and go out of character right after the scene gets done, and then later you go in to add a transition, well, you're going to start to get some of those outtakes into your clip. So it's real important that that you have some clean footage before and after whatever it is that you're wanting to shoot. So it's always important to get a lot of good footage before and after your shots. Alright, so that's how that'll work. So probably not a good use of a cross dissolve right here because we're having that issue of seeing the 7 and seeing the 2. So let's actually use a dip to black. Dip to black's very good in showing that maybe time has passed. So in other words, instead of this being the 3 and the 6, pretend as if this shot was somebody getting into their car. And then it dips to black, and then you see the car pulling up to the mall, let's say. So obviously what a dip to black does is we don't need to have footage and clips of the car driving to the mall. I can just, your audience is smart. They can figure out, okay, well, you showed a shot here, dips to black, it fades back up. They make that connection that, oh, obviously traveling was involved and they've arrived at their destination. So that's a way to cut out time, in other words. So dip to black is a very useful one. The last one I'll talk about, if I do delete, and you can delete transitions by selecting it and hitting delete on the keyboard. What we have right here, by default, when you bump these two clips together, that's called a hard cut. In other words, it goes from one directly to another one. That is still a transition, and it's an often used transition because then it illustrates that no time has gone by. So in other words, let me set up a scenario. Let's say a student is walking out of a classroom, and the next shot immediately is a shot of him walking down the hall. By having a hard cut, you're telling your audience that no time has went by. We're seeing this almost as if it's in real time, and it just changed camera shots or camera angles. So again, hard cut, cross dissolve, and dip to black. Those are really the three most commonly used transitions. 99 times out of 100, that's what you're going to use. It's real important that you don't use transitions just because they're fancy. There's a lot more over here. Play around with them. There are some other times when you might use some of these other ones, but for the most part, in my years of editing and productions that I've done, the three that I just showed you are the three most common ones that I have used. So that is the basics of editing. So just remember, import your footage from your folder. Set your in and out points. Remember that the first time you have created a project, you will need to drag your clip down to this new item so that it will create a sequence. And then from that point forward, you can just start opening up your other clips. This one's taking a little bit. So you can open up your other clips, set your in and out points, and then drag them to zoom, give myself a little bit of space, and then drag them down. The last thing that I will mention, and this is maybe a little bit beyond the basics, but if you drag the clip from here down, you see that it brings in the video and its audio. You can, if you want, if you're just wanting video, you can just drag here. Let me go ahead and delete this one. If I drag from here, it will just bring down that clip's video. If I drag here, it will just drag the audio, which is down here. Okay. And yes, we can edit audio by double clicking. So we can edit audio just like we can edit video. Obviously there's not going to be any video there, so what it will show you is the waveform of that audio. So I can very easily just edit this. I can say I want just right there. Right there. There's some very dramatic music here for our countdown. Maybe a little too dramatic. So I can drag that audio down by clicking this audio icon, and it will just drag down what's in that little piece. And so there you go. So that's how you'd start to build that. I'm going to press save, even though this isn't exactly a project that has amounted to anything that I'd want to show or keep. But at that point, you would just keep building and working your sequence together into its final video that would then be exported out. The exporting, how you would get this video out of Premiere Pro, is covered in a separate video. So good luck.